Let's see what's going on here. Are we having a technical difficulty? Okay, there we go. Now it looks like I'm streaming. I'll wait for YouTube to catch up. Yeah, okay. All right. All of a sudden, it popped up on my screen that live streaming is currently Let's see what's going on here. Are we having... So, now that that's done and the clock on the wall is finished doing its bong bong thing, I can come over here and click this button and say, good morning. Happy Sunday, y'all. Last minute little glitch there. I clicked the button to start going live, and a little banner pops up. It says, live streaming is currently unavailable. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. Great. YouTube. One of these days, you can get your act together. Oh, well. First world problems, and I got a bunch of them. Happy Sunday, y'all. Hope y'all are doing well. Hope you and yours are all healthy and doing okay. For those of you in the U.S., a late happy 4th to you. Hope y'all survived the attack of the fireworks last night. I tell you, it goes crazy out here where I live. It's funny because fireworks that explode or leave the ground are illegal here. And some of these people set off aerial displays that are more impressive than what the city or the county sets off. I mean, it's real. Some of these guys are impressive. I don't know where they get this stuff. I don't think I want to know where they get that stuff because it's considered plausible deniability. But, I mean, they started at sundown last night, which we're far enough north. That was about 9:30 last night, and they didn't finish till like 1 or 2 in the morning. Boom, 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 boom. Anyway, it was some spectacular stuff. So, before we get into what's going on, let's go ahead and go down the list here and see who's joining us today. Bumps checking in from the Lake District in the UK. How you doing? Hope everybody's doing well there in Carlisle. Thomas Grin from Austin. How goes it? Bill Stoffer or Stouffer? I don't know which. Stoffer, I believe, from Galena, Ohio, checking in with us. And our good friend Ice Cream 62 checking in from Italy. Stephen Main down in Australia. How you doing today? It's early Monday morning, according to what you said. Man, coming to us live from the future. Let's see, Dave Krause in the house. I'm a poet and I know it. Jeff Rozak checking in from Edgewater, Florida. How you doing? Steve Late from London. Kevin Ells in South Africa. John Sautier, how you doing this morning? Mr. Matt, All Things YouTube Haas. How goes it this morning? Good to see you joining us and see how you're doing today. If y'all are interested in all things YouTube, Matt does an excellent show on Monday afternoons. See, it would be 7 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern, because it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon my time, which is why sometimes I don't make it. Every Monday on his channel, All Things YouTube. If you're looking for some of the inside YouTube stuff, he knows his stuff. It's a very good show, very good channel. Mr. Michael KC, Charles Lawrence, Richard Poulin joining us today. Malcolm Temporal in Cyprus. Holy cow. Debbie DiTrapani and Jill Knight, Pam Netzer, Jack Painter, Bill Deerhake. I don't know if you pronounce the H or not. Sorry for butchering your name. Dale Farmer, Mr. Jim Hester checking in from Kentucky, and Hank Netz watching from Rogers, Arkansas, a new CNC user, Miss Pam. welcome aboard. Um, Welcome to the jungle, the fun house, whatever you want to call it. I'm just some guy in a shed trying to help people avoid the mistakes that I continue to make. Andrew Hayes coming in from Yorkshire. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Matt, go ahead. He's got a course. If you're into YouTube and you're into making videos, if you're thinking about getting into making videos, he has 32 free videos on the All Things YouTube um, website and his YouTube channel. It will help you get more out of your YouTube experience, believe me. If you're a content creator, go check it out. He's got a lot of good stuff over there. So, today we got into something I should have done. This should have been like episode 5 or episode 6 of the Vectric for Absolute Beginner series. And to be honest with you, I thought I covered most of this stuff, but evidently I hadn't. And I had just enough questions over the last couple 3 weeks that I decided, you know what, I need to get in there and show this stuff. And that is especially the truth when it comes to the draw line and polyline tool. There were a lot of people that had a lot of confusion with that, because if you're brand new to the software, it looks very, very intimidating, and it is real convoluted the way you set it up. You would think you'd be able to just draw a line from A to B. Well, you can, but it needs to know where A and B is. There are other programs out there like SketchUp that makes it a lot easier, but CAD programs, they try to be as precise as they can. I mean, I was introduced to the PC and AutoCAD in the same week of 1997. And I've forgotten more about AutoCAD than I ever learned. But drawing something as simple as a straight line, you want a 3-inch line going from point A to point B. It's such a convoluted thing, a lot of people can't even wrap their heads around it. So it's, what can I say? It's a convoluted mess, but you can get into it. I'm going to do a screen share real quick because there are a couple things that I forgot to mention. Just completely forgot, and it's probably a good thing because it was a 40-minute video anyway. So let me bring up Aspire here, and then we'll check to make sure that I'm screen sharing. And that is when you're over here in the Draw Line Polyline tool, for your start point, you don't necessarily have to have a coordinate. If you know, for instance, that you want your start point to be at the end of this point right here, you can just put your cursor over that point and start it. That starts your line. Then you can come up here and enter your next line of coordinates or your angle and length. So now for this case, it would be real easy just to go over to this end and click. But if I wanted to put it up here at let's say at a 30-degree angle, a 6-inch line off of this corner, I can just come over here and go 30-degree angle, 6 inches, and add that point. And my start point was put in just by clicking the mouse. Hit the space bar and finish that line. So you can come over here, find the center, click, come over this way, and I'll just use the same angle. What the heck, 30-degree, 6 inches, add. So you don't necessarily have to know the X and Y coordinate of your start point. You can go to an area on your workspace out here and click to start that line. So I completely, totally forgot about that. And so as a consequence, I didn't add that in. So I believe that was the major one. was the fact that I forgot to click that. Edwin Thatcher, first time checking in from Louisville. Welcome aboard. Steve Nealon at Harneal Media is in the house today. Y'all, I'm glad to see Steve with us. He's a special guy to me. He had some serious issues. He had serious surgery. And I don't know if you're home yet, Steve, or not. I will try to catch up with you a bit later on. But it's just good to see your name out there in the chat. Really good to see your name out there in the chat. So, sorry, folks. That was for me. Let's see. Chuck Rita says, thank you, Mark. Purchased new CNC a year ago and was over my head. Yet was over mine, too. Your videos really got me going. Just wanted to say thank you. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I've said this before. That's kind of why I got into doing this and into making videos. I saw a gentleman online. I don't know him. But just in watching his posts, he spent a lot of money on a CNC router, and I mean a lot of money. And he just couldn't figure it out. And I was so new, I tried to help a little bit where I could, but I didn't know his machine. And I tried to get him to go back to the manufacturer for help, but it didn't quite work out for him. And he got so frustrated with the thing, he just loaded it in a wheelbarrow, took it outside and set it there, and then ended up selling it off for a criminally low price because he just thought he couldn't do it. And I've always been of the opinion that if I can do it, anybody can. Because 6 years ago, I hadn't even been in the same building with a CNC router. So if I can learn this stuff, anybody can. So my whole point in doing this was to try to show people that if you take your time, practice, get in and use the software, you can do this. There's nothing inherently difficult about this process. The hardest part is getting the idea out of your head and into the computer, at least for me. After that, I can kind of sort of figure it out. So nothing will ever replace experience. And the only way to get that experience is to use it, to do it. So don't be afraid. Get into the software. I mean, if nothing else, draw your name. Don't rely on fonts. Make your own font. It may not look beautiful, but the beauty of digital stuff is you can erase it and start over. Just draw designs, learn the tools, learn the software, assemble some projects, even in the trial versions. Assemble some projects and get them set and ready to carve on the machine. If I can do it, anybody can. Don't spend a lot of money on materials to cut up at first. I got on my local Craigslist and got in the free section and started looking for scrap wood that people were just getting ready to take to a landfill. And that would be anything from a broken old fence board to a piece of 1x12 or 2x12. Just, if you can screw it down onto the spoil board or clamp it down in some way and cut it up, I don't feel bad at all about putting something that was going to go to the landfill into the burn pile, especially if I get experience out of it. So that's what I did. It worked for me. Okay, Bill Deerhake wants to know, have I ever messed with G-Wizard for feeds and speeds? No, I have not. And the main reason I haven't is because I tend to run on the conservative side. I'm a home hobbyist. I'm not looking to put out 1,000 parts in a day. So I can take the time. What I do is I set up my feed rate. I start somewhere conservative, about 50 inches per minute. And I can speed up or slow down my feed rate on the fly with Mach 3 outside on the CNC machine. And I'll speed it up until I start hearing either the router struggle a little bit, or I start getting a little bit of chatter, and then I back it down until that goes away. And then that's what it runs at. Most of the feed and speed calculators you're going to find out there, to include manufacturers' recommendations, are based on and designed for industrial machines that can handle high feed rates that mine just can't handle. I mean, I've seen some suggested feed rates of 400 and 500 inches per minute, and mine just won't do that. Also, I'm using a router. I don't have a spindle, so I'm kind of limited as to my RPM range. I don't look at chip loads. I don't look at any of that stuff. I believe that the wood or the material is going to tell me what it wants to cut at, and that's different for every board you put on the machine. I mean, I can put a piece of maple and carve something and then come back the next week and put another piece of maple on it, and the feed rate be completely different than the one I cut last week. It's happened before. So I don't have any kind of formula. I just start conservative, and as the bit starts cutting, I start bumping up my feed rate, and when I find that sweet spot, I let it go. So it works for me. Again, I'm a home hobbyist. I can afford to take the time. If you're looking at production machining, you may want to talk to your CNC's manufacturer and follow the tool manufacturer's recommendation. I mean, there are some folks out there that do have big industrial machines. I know a couple of people that have imported them from overseas, and holy cow, they are nice, but boy, do they take up the real estate. So, let's see. Jerry Hefferon. Thanks, Mark. I took your advice and redesigned my pen box to have an end open. It's taken me a while to get back to working on things right now, battling the big C. Well, Jerry, I mean, prayers, good vibes, and good wishes heading your way from our house to yours. Yeah. We're pulling for you, man. Just stay with it. Stay with it. Okay, let's see. Dave Dietrich, how do you deal with chip out when V carving in maple, for example? It depends. For V carving, sharp bit number one, and I run my router at about anywhere between 16 and 18,000 RPM, and I don't really get a lot of chip out. It just depends on what you're doing. Now, if you're V carving and you're using a large area clearance tool, like you're using an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch bit end mill to clear out large areas, I have found that running the V bit first and then doing that clearance last helps a lot for chip out, because especially if you're going like around letters or an intricate design, by V carving first, you're taking away the material for the finish before you're clearing out that large area, so that there's something there for support, like one leg of the letter E. If you're carving out and leaving that E standing proud, by carving around that E, outlining it, then clearing out the material around it, you have that definition already there. You'll get a lot less chip out that way. So I always run the V bit first, and then it depends on how aggressive you go with your end mill. I mean, just because an end mill is capable of cutting a 1/2 inch deep pass doesn't mean that it should. Pass depth can definitely affect it. I generally go half of the tool's diameter, sometimes less. It just depends on what it is. But my pass depth, if I find that if I run a little bit shallower of a pass depth, I can speed up the feed rate, so they kind of counteract each other. Maybe I'm making 8 passes where I could make only 4, but if I spend less time cleaning up and sanding, I think that balances out. I mean, I would rather spend an hour on the machine than spend 4 hours cleaning up a mess with sandpaper. So, what can I say? Let's see. Jim Hester says, on my end, your audio and video are about 5 seconds out of sync. Oh, goody. Well, I'll have to go back and watch after I get this done, and I might have to edit this video. So, let's see. Richard wants to know, do you know something about the fact that if you press shift when you click on set job dimensions, you have more modeling resolutions? If yes, do you know what the difference it makes? Yes, I did know that, Richard. Let me go ahead and demonstrate that. Let me bring up Aspire. And here is what Richard is talking about. Over here in job setup, I'll go into my job setup here, just normal. And you can see the settings I have for this demonstration here. If I come down into the modeling resolution, I have 3 resolutions to choose from: standard, high, and very high. So I'll click off of there and hit cancel. If I hold down shift, then click on job setup, it takes a couple of seconds longer to load, and I can come down here and click on my modeling resolution. I now have 5 modeling resolutions: extremely high and maximum. I'm not exactly sure why they did this. Maybe to keep people from just using maximum as a default. I can tell you from personal experience, I rarely use anything above very high. About the only time I have ever done anything on either of these, extremely high or maximum, was in doing a very small model that had a lot of detail. So something about 3 inches in diameter or smaller that has a lot of detail, I use those higher modeling resolutions. If you set that to your default and you just use that all the time, people talk about how long machine times are for VCarve or Aspire for 3D carving as it is. Imagine 50 times longer. Now, that's just mainly for the rendering, but it will make the machine time a bit longer, simply because by adding that many pixels to the model, it makes that much more detail. So, let's see here. All things YouTube, Stephen Main, Andrew Hayes, Jeff Rozak, and Steve Light all say the audio video sync is good. Okay. All right. Well, I'll check it out after we end the live stream and see where it goes. I don't know what to say. That might have been something to do with that YouTube glitch when I first started streaming. But I hope that answers your question there, Richard. Yes, it does add a couple of more modeling resolutions, but it'll also slow down your work. So just know that going in. Let's see. David Dietrich says, does past depth affect chip out at all? Yes, it does. Let's see. What kind of a past depth am I running? Let's go back here and see. On my VBit, go into my tool database, and just for giggles, on my 90-degree VBit that I use, I run a past depth of 0.1 for the VBit. And I use a very small step over on VBits just because it's a VBit. And I would rather remove as much of the little trailies as I can. And yeah, that seems to be okay. I don't get a lot of chip out. I would say probably the most important factor is to make sure that your bit is nice and sharp. Now, Peter Pasuelo over on his channel, CNC Nuts. He did a video on sharpening carbide tipped bits for the CNC. And I refer him a lot when we're talking about bits and various other subjects. I'll just say it straight up front. Subscribe to Peter Pozuelo's channel, CNC Nuts. I'll put a link in the description to this video on sharpening bits. Okay, wrote myself a little note here. And while you're over there, check out that video. And while you're over there, subscribe to his channel and go back through and look. He's got a ton of good content over there. He is the first CNC guy I ever subscribed to on YouTube. And it's about a 50-50 mix. I learned equally from Dave Gatton and Peter Pozuelo. And the two of them, they are my Obi-Wan Kenobis as far as CNC work is concerned. You have to throw Bill Griggs in there as well. He did an excellent, excellent job of helping me out and getting myself to where I could understand what was going on with the electronics. But Dave Gatton and Peter Pozuelo, definitely subscribe to Peter Pozuelo's YouTube channel and watch his stuff. He's got a lot of good stuff over there. But I'll put a link to that channel down in the description of this one when we go off the air today. So, excuse me. Okay, I got one little inside baseball thing to go here, and that is for those of you who are interested, and even those who aren't really all that interested, I broke ground on my new shed build this week. Went out and rented a Toro Dingo. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a miniature walk-behind skid steer with a shovel on the front. It's about 31 inches wide. And I commenced to digging. And I dug. And that was me breaking ground with the shovel. And that is what it looks like right now. Actually, it's a little bit cleaner. I got it leveled out back here. I've got a 12-foot wide, 16-foot long shed going in here. It's leveled off now, and now I've got to put in the pressure-treated perimeter boards. Then 4 inches of gravel is going back here so I can set that shed. So it is in process, and oh, my aching back. So it is going well, and I, for one, just cannot wait. So let's see. Woody 1. Jeff from Connecticut. My CNC has a maximum carved surface of 13 by 25. Currently using desktop, and I'm happy. Would there be many advantages of upgrading to Pro? Aspire is not even a consideration. 13 by 25. You know, I really don't know. It depends on what you're doing there, Jeff. If you have any need for the gadgets that are available to VCarve Pro but not desktop, and we're talking like dovetail gadgets, rotary gadgets, things of that nature. By rotary, I mean rotary axis. Then you might think of upgrading. But with a 13 by 25 cutting area, if you're happy, I say, why spend the money? You know? I mean, I'm cheap. So if there's no need for it, if you're happy, then I don't see any reason to poke the bear. You know, I don't see any reason to spend the money. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but I don't know that you'd get value for that extra money, you know. So let's see. Patrick's Workshop. Good afternoon. Mr. Patrick. Jack Painter, can I install Aspire on my 32-bit computer? That would be a question for the folks over at Vectric. I really don't know. I would assume so, but I'm not certain. So don't take my word for it. I would head over to Vectric's website and look at system requirements for Aspire. It may need 64-bit. It may work just fine on 32-bit. I don't know. And if it doesn't say on their system requirements page, shoot them an email. They'll get back to you. Oh, should be pretty fairly soon. So, Barry Batassi, does Windows 7 run both Aspire and Mach 3? I can't speak for Aspire 10 or above, but I know that Aspire 9.5 ran on Windows 7 just fine. And Mach 3 definitely runs on Windows 7 just fine. 32-bit version now of Mach 3. Personally, I have an old PC out there running Mach 3 that's running Windows XP, and it does just fine. I get teased about having old stuff, but you know what? I'm an old guy, and I just don't have the problems I see other people having. So, it's been working for me for, well, that computer was on my first CNC. It's been working for me for 5 years, so I found no need to change it. But it needs a 32-bit version of Windows 7 to run Mach 3. So, and I run through a parallel port. If you're not running through a parallel port, if you're using like a UC100 or something like that, I don't know anything about them. I've never used them. So, okay, Matt Haas is taking off. Going to my wood shop now. Stay awesome, my friend, and thanks for the shout out. I only shout out to people I love, like Mr. Jonathan W. down here. Of course, he doesn't realize, what Matt doesn't know because he's gone, is I shout out everybody here. But he's a good guy anyway. Mr. Jonathan W. down there. And Mr. Dave Gatton down there. Good grief, man. The celebrities are piling in. Robert Repine, Barry Batassi just joining the house. Well, guys, you're almost in time to miss me. Yeah, Bill Deerhake, include the link to Vectric 10.5 coming attractions video. Which one? That's one thing about Vectric, man. They tease the stuffings out of their software when they've got a new version coming out, and they're including something that I'm real excited about. They're including a thread milling toolpath. Oh man, I've been wanting to do internal and external threads on a CNC router for a couple years now, and the fact that they're including that thread milling toolpath, I'm excited about that. There's a bunch of other cool stuff, don't get me wrong, but oh man, I can't wait to get into thread milling. Let's see. What do you want? Jeff wants to know any feelings on Vectric's announcement about laser software. I don't have any feelings on that because I don't have a laser. If you're using a diode laser like a JTech Photonics, that's something that Dave might be interested in. I know he has a JTech laser. They are putting a complete laser module on the new version of VCarve and Aspire, Dave, and it's right up your alley, and it's flat out cool. They did a demonstration. Vectric has a demonstration video on their YouTube channel where they carved a 3D dog's head, then went back and lasered that dog's head, and oh man, no, it was a tiger's head, excuse me. Oh man, does that thing look cool. It carved it out in 3D and then went back and lasered the raised portions, and that thing looked amazing. So it's got me thinking about a JTech laser. But I don't have one for my CNC, so I really don't have any feelings on it at all. So, Yeah, Patrick's got it here. Um, he says he bought a refurbished laptop for $200 from tigerdirect.com. When I told people I wanted to get into CNC and I needed an old computer running Windows XP to run Mach 3, I told my friends and family and asked them, well, look, if you've got an old Windows XP PC under the bed or in the closet taking up space, let me know. Maybe I'd be interested in buying it. Well, I had 4 of them given to me that first week. I'm up to 8 right now, and all of them have a backup of my Mach 3 settings installed on them already. And Dave keeps teasing me about using antique equipment. He's like, well, that thing is never going to last. And I'm like, well, okay, if it goes out, I've got a few spares. So I figure I'll keep piggybacking them until I can't no more. Then I'll get a UC 100. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Good grief, I've been on for 35 minutes already. Wanted to say thank you to everybody for the support on my channel. I mentioned last week Steve Nealon over at Harneal Media and his medical issues and major surgery he had a few days ago. I don't know if I put the link. I will check it out and see if I did. If you are so inclined, a GoFundMe has been set up for Steve and his wife Pam. These folks are very special to me, and any help is gratefully accepted. If you had a couple of dollars and you have already donated, thank you very much from me, sincerely. Thank you very much. And if you would like to donate a few dollars to help some really dynamite people who have supported the maker community more than any of you will ever know individually back behind the scenes, these folks are special, and I would appreciate it, and I know they will. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and shut this down now, if YouTube will allow me to. And we'll see you next week. I don't know what next week's video is going to be, but for now, good grief, it's late in the afternoon. Get out in the shop and go do something cool. Thanks very much for spending part of your Sunday with me, y'all. Have a good one. Take care.